Music. No music. All right, everyone. Hope you can see me. This is Michael, one of the co-founders of Hummingbot. I'm the board of directors, one of the board of directors of the Hummingbot Foundation. And here we're going to talk about the new DEX middleware refactor that Hummingbot has done. Oops. Good. Looks like I'm live. Let me turn off that sound over there. All right, so I don't hear myself. So the chat is live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Memento. Welcome, folks on Discord. Let me just post a quick note on Discord right now to tell everyone that we are live on YouTube, and we will be doing a live stream over the next couple hours, talking and working on the new gateway repo. Okay, let me pop a link out here. 1 second. Okay, all right. So let's do it. This will be pretty informal. So I still got my breakfast over here, and my coffee. Where's my camera? Oh, there it is. Looking at our camera. Yeah. So I got a camera and everything. My breakfast and everything. So this will be pretty informal. As you can see, I am still working on trying to create a document that will explain the refactor, working with Claude over here, to try to try to create a slide deck that will explain the old version of Gateway from a technical standpoint, how it compares to the new version, and that'll be easier than me just talking about it. But overall, what I'm going to describe is this right here, which is the new Gateway API. It's a standalone API, but it's also designed to be used with Hummingbot to run strategies on DEXs. So basically, there are endpoints to configure how it works, to add and remove kind of configurations to different pools. You can see the list of available connectors. And then you can see also the list of available chains like this. So currently, we support two types of networks. One is Ethereum networks. So on Ethereum, we support mainnet and these other networks listed here. Note that this includes Binance Smart Chain, BSC, Avalanche, and other layer 1 networks that are EVM compatible. So basically, the definition of Ethereum networks is that anything that you can use with MetaMask, then is an Ethereum network. And then we also now support two Solana networks, mainnet beta and devnet, and in the future this should also be able to support other SVM compatible networks as well. So the overall idea behind Gateway is that because it integrates to these chains as well as these DEXs on those chains, now you can automate and standardize some of the interactions between them. So for example, you can add and remove a list of wallets for the respective chains. You can get the status of each chain. So let's get the status of the mainnet beta chain right now. So here's the current block number. Here's the RPC URL I'm using, and here's the network. And each network also has a native currency. We can also get the DevNet network. Here's the stats of the DevNet network. Note that you can define a separate RPC URL for every DevNet network. Let's see. Okay. This slide deck has taken a while. It actually did produce an early artifact, which looked pretty promising, which is why I'm going to let it do its thing. Unfortunately, it looks like it's having some issues with parsing, very basic CSS errors. If it doesn't work this time, I'm gonna copy out the output and maybe have CloudCode check it out, because I think CloudCode is generally better than Claude desktop. Okay, that was a tangent, but overall, we are going to use AI a lot in the session today because I'm super lazy, and I found that having AI do its thing, there he goes. Having AI do its thing while you're just talking is a really good way of explaining things. It's a lot easier than trying to multitask and type and talk at the same time. So overall, yeah, as we're saying, actually, it's probably a good segue. I am going to go in depth into all of these routes. Talking about the different schemas we have for kind of like DEX aggregators, as well as like kind of AMM standard pools, as well as concentrated pools. But before we go into a lot of detail, let me go into more of a high level explanation using this slide deck that Claude just created for me about the differences between the old version of Gateway, the new version of Gateway, and the kind of how it's laid out from a high level structural standpoint. Okay. I should mention any questions, please pop it into the chat, either in Discord, in the live streams AI channel, or in the YouTube chat. Preferably in the YouTube chat. I think quality of the video seems poor. Okay, great question. Great. That's very helpful. Let me see why the video quality is poor. Okay. Let me actually look at the quality of the video on my screen. Nope, it's actually full res right now for me. So I think that it probably has to do with your connection, Bruno, because I think I am outputting in 1080p, which is probably the highest that my network can currently support. So unfortunately, I can't do 4K yet, but maybe as the networking improves in the next few years. GA says, thanks for the DEX, the great work. I'm following the project for a few months. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think that supporting DEXs has always been Hummingbot's goal from the outset. Our goal is to kind of really try to make it easier, try to create an open standard for people to trade on exchanges, regardless of if they're decentralized or centralized. And I think, especially I think now with the new refactored approach to Gateway, it'll be much easier for people to use DEXs and build strategies that accommodate them. All right, so let me just, if you want to follow along here, I'm basically gonna outline the changes that we've made recently to the DEX middleware called Gateway. So Gateway is open source middleware that helps Hummingbot client connect to DEXs, and it does kind of the same thing as normal Hummingbot connectors in terms of standardizing interactions with common trading and liquidity provision actions on these exchanges. However, what it also does on Gateway is it also handles the fact that these DEXs live on different chains and networks as well. So we actually tried to create an initial version about more than 3 years ago. So that was Gateway, and I think it was introduced in like Gateway in Hummingbot like 1.2 or something. We carried it over for about a couple of years, but we realized over time that it wasn't designed the right way, because a lot has changed in the blockchain ecosystem over the past 3 years. And initially, I think the way that we designed this version of Gateway, it was kind of like it was basically had one single route of like price, and all the different chains and DEXs had to accommodate into this one route. So that these routes became overloaded, and it was hard to add new routes, especially for customized capabilities that each DEX would have. So that's why we introduced a new version. So yeah, let me go into more detail using this slide deck here, and then we can kind of go back into the slides that we did. How do I do this? Okay, 1 second. Let me do this. Publish, copy, download this, publish. Okay, all right. Let me publish and copy the link, and then we can look at it in the browser. Okay, all right. I've never actually done this before. So let's see this AI generated slide deck that we can use. How do I expand this? Okay, all right. It's even unfortunately it's even not full screen. Let me make it full screen. Allow make slides full screen. Okay. Okay. All right. But anyway, as it's doing this thing, we can still go through the initial version of it. So here's the motivation for refactoring. Basically, the old architecture was very rigid. It was kind of like, it wasn't very flexible. It's hard to add new connector types. And it was kind of like, it had really old dependencies, and it was still using Express and a lot of like the older JavaScript type of features. So the new version, it should be each DEX will expose its own routes, and so that allows it to kind of like be more flexible. So as long as like these routes accommodate certain schemas, then it'll work better. Then yeah, so that's basically why. So overall, here are the reasons why we upgrade the new architecture. Let me answer a question from GB. Is it possible to set up a simple grid executor on Solana that will use market orders for the grid instead of classic limit orders used with SEX? Yes, absolutely is. So we can probably actually try to build that bot during the session, actually, if you want. The issue there, I think, is going to be that yeah, I would say yeah, you basically need to run an algorithm which is going to monitor prices and just implement trades when the price reaches certain levels. So I think yeah, we can actually try to build that script actually, and then and try to run it. So yeah, I think that's actually a good thing to test out. With yeah, actually though the issue I would say, actually, you know what, let's actually do that next time during session 2, because the Hummingbot client has not been refactored to use this new version of Gateway yet, and what you're asking for is really a way to automate, kind of like a way to interact with the DEXs repeatedly over a period of time, which is basically a bot. And so I think the role of Hummingbot is to allow people to build automated strategies or bots. But what we did in this new refactor was kind of standardize the architecture that people add connectors to these different DEXs. So today I'm going to try to go over the new architecture, show examples of just interacting with the API through Swagger. So you can see kind of like, okay, here's how you would call a standardized endpoint to get the pool info, position info, adding and removing liquidity and so forth. And then in the next week, I'll show you how you can kind of automate a process to basically, you know, automatically fetch prices, automatically do trades when prices hit certain levels. Okay, all right. So, and also plus next week, we're going to do a fun joint live stream where Fede and I will do a special one, the two of us together. So don't miss it. Next Friday will be the special, you know, once a blue moon, a joint live stream between me and Fede. Okay, so let's go through the slide deck again. I think Claude has done a better job of recreating a full screen version. So let's publish it. Okay, copy link. Okay, this looks better. Okay, all right. Let me grab some breakfast, finish some coffee. And then we're gonna go through this slide deck now. Haven't seen this yet, so we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so let's compare the new gateway architecture 2.5 plus versus the old legacy one. So yeah, so we saw this slide before, but basically some of the issues with the old architecture were that it was rigid, it was tightly coupled to the client, and because the routes were like monolithic, it was hard to add new routes in to accommodate new types of DEXs. The new one is chain agnostic. So instead of kind of it'll just basically say it'll support these chains and these DEXs. Any DEX can have define their own routes, and it'll work with Hummingbot as long as these routes fit certain schemas. So for example, all connectors should accommodate the swap schema and expose the quote swap and the execute swap routes. As long as and these two routes will have the same requests and responses needed, so that way that way Hummingbot can use this DEX and use it to fetch prices using the quote swap endpoint, and then use those prices to then execute swaps based on the quotes. So what we envision is that every DEX will expose those endpoints, but it might expose other ones as well that fit other schemas, like AMM or CLMM, or other ones in the future. So we also upgraded the tech stack a lot in the new version of Gateway. So we're using Node 20. We switched the package manager from Yarn to PNPM. The reason is that PNPM does a good job of consolidating node modules from kind of like interrelated packages, and because we know that people are deploying Hummingbot across in the cloud on their own machines, we want to ensure that the Docker and the image sizes are as small as possible. We moved from Express to Fastify, and Fastify has a lot of built-in web framework components that Express didn't have, and overall it's just a more modern JavaScript web framework. Excuse me. So the default port actually has not changed. It is still 15888. What we did was we removed the documentation that lived on this port, and now there's just like there's a /docs endpoint. In the past, it was hard to update the APIs that in the docs because we constantly were adding routes. Now we're using this feature that Fastify has where it auto-generates the Swagger UI based on the existing routes in the repo. So we actually don't need to maintain a Postman collection or have extensive, kind of like maintain documentation, because at runtime you can just generate the docs and interact with it, as we'll show you here like this. So, all right. So just a high level, kind of like a comparison of the architecture. Let me just go over here and pull up the repo itself to show you guys. So so previously we had this 2.2 branch over here. It is still available under v2.2, and the reason I call this out is because this still has all the old connectors that has. So this page here in the docs is the old documentation section for 2.2. It shows you how to install it, how to test it, set it up, and use it with a version of Hummingbot which has been updated. We continue to keep it updated, and it works with 2.2. So 2.2 still has a bunch of legacy connectors to other DEXs that have not been updated yet. However, we have updated the Ethereum Uniswap and Solana, Raydium, Meteora, and Jupiter using this new standard. So we think that sets a template for other future connectors to be added after the 2.6 release is been done. But overall, some of the main on the high level, before it was kind of like this more of a this coupled architecture where the client defined the chain types is supported, and the gateway kind of was welded into that. So we couldn't add new chains without modifying both the client and gateway, and every DEX couldn't add their own routes because it could only use the ones that were that they only use certain routes that gateway supported. In this new version, we have a more decoupled schema. The client in the new version will be chain agnostic, so it won't care it won't know which chains are available, but it will query and fetch the list of available chains from gateway. And on the connector side, the connectors are associated with certain chain type. So that means that Ethereum and Uniswap uses the Ethereum connector because it's an Ethereum-based DEX. Similarly, Raydium is a Solana-based DEX, and it uses the Solana connector to send transactions and pull for transactions. So that's why we're going to basically, we kind of couple the notion of connectors to certain chain architectures. Yeah, so this is one example of some of the differences between the legacy connector architecture in terms of connector structure and the new one. In the past we had this one kind of file like this where uniswap.ts, we had like uniswap.connect controllers, and so all the methods associated with Uniswap had to live in like one file, right? And so it made it hard to extend the connector to accommodate different types of endpoints and new ones. In the future, every connector folder will look more like this, where there's a base class for interacting with the chain or the DEX SDK. There's a config.ts. Actually, should show you guys this. This will be easier to show you like this. One second. Like this. Where'd it go? Did I lose it? Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. So, here's the structure of the Uniswap connector, where here is the. Let's see. Here's the. Okay, so this Uniswap.ts file is responsible for interacting with the Uniswap kind of SDK, and kind of like doing as methods like kind of instantiating the class, managing, getting fetching pools from contracts, but it's kind of like standardizing interactions with the SDK client. Then we have a config file that is this is basically defining what should go into the config.yaml template. So, for example, for Ethereum, for Uniswap, it defines what the slippage should be if the user doesn't define it for a trade. It defines the maximum number of hops that it can use to find a router, find a route when using the router. And for each network, it defines addresses for specific trading pairs. This last part's important because if you're interacting with a pool connector like a AMM or CLMM, it's not enough to know the symbols you're working with. You have to know the specific pools. For instance, which fee tier, which bin step, etc. So that's why instead of forcing people from Hummingbot to define a pool address, because you may not know what the pool addresses are, what we allow is a gateway user can define by default the addresses associated with common trading pairs that might be used with it. So I'll probably flesh this out a bit more and try to get the common pairs here for at least for example for Ethereum, for Uniswap, base and mainnet, and for Solana for for the common Raydium pools as well. But we expect that people will extend and modify this for other networks they might be trading on. So that's the config file, and then finally, there's other files here. For example, Uniswap also has a utils file that defines kind of like helper functions, as well as a contracts file that defines kind of various contract addresses for kind of routers and kind of like other contract factories and various networks, but all the routes are defined, are aggregated in this routes file. So before, if you saw this Uniswap routes file in Gateway 2.2, it was a mess because it was all the routes were here. So if I want to add a new endpoint in, I'd have to like change routes file, change a controller, change like the Uniswap.ts. It would touch 4 or 5 different files just to add one thing. So right now, the way we did it is that now there are different folders for different schemas. So these routes, this one here, these routes are for the standard Uniswap connector, which just fits the swap schema. So the swap schema, basically, if we look at the swap schema.ts file, the swap schema says a connector, in order to fit the swap schema, just needs to define 2 routes, and here are the request and response types for the fetching a swap quote route, and here are the request and response types for the executing a swap type. So as long as a connector fits and defines these parameters, and it can be used by any Hummingbot strategy that is doing swaps. So that's what you. So the other one is we're also going to define the networks that a connector is available on. So right now, actually, I should probably change this. I think right now it's in connectors. Okay, connectors, routes. Here. Yeah, actually, we're going to change this later on to this one is only going to be the mainnet network because the Uniswap connector is only available on mainnet. Okay, all right. So and then let me go into a bit more detail. Let's go back to the slides, and let's see what else Claude has explained to us. Okay. All right. So let's see this one. Oh yeah. So this explains the chain. Now say this is the connectors. The same thing we also did for the chains, where the chains have a like a chain.ts class to interact with the chain SDK, and we have a chain config.ts class. So let me show you the Ethereum chain class, chain config class. So there's the Ethereum chain template looks like this, where for each network it defines the chain ID, the node URL that it uses to connect to, and also this is the source of the token list. The token list is what Gateway uses to translate a symbol into an address. The token list is quite important because if it doesn't have the token list, it doesn't know what the right symbol is, and it's possible that you might be working with like a fake symbol, because anyone can deploy a USDC contract, for example, on like you can deploy an ERC20 token with the name Ethereum. Anyone can do it, or the name USDC or the symbol USDC, I should say. So because of that, in order to kind of like know what you're working with, you really need a dictionary that says for a given symbol, here's the address that we actually want to be working with. So that's why we have a lists directory where there's a standard there's a JSON file that contains a list of tokens for a given network, and so this list is the one that is referred to here. So yeah, that's the file token list type. You can also use the API token list type and refer to an API. But we actually don't recommend that because it introduces another kind of network-based dependency, which you don't really want in like an automated bot. And then finally, you also define a native currency symbol and a gas price refresh interval, which is how often you query the gas price on the chain. I believe this is actually not being used right now. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if the new Ethereum connector uses it, but yeah, it should probably use this feature. So, but the similar to the other DEX connectors, every chain is going to have the routes available in this routes folder. So we can see that for Ethereum, we can fetch fetch allowances for approve a token, get the status of the chain, and so forth. One change is that note that the logic for a lot of these functions live in these files rather than in a separate controller file or etc. And this is designed to kind of like have better encapsulation. So in the future, maybe like people want to add a route, and they can just add a new file in. Instead of actually, so I do think people can already propose new routes. So for example, I think it makes sense to have a wrap route here so that people can automate the wrapping of tokens if that's one step in the strategy they want to do. So the schemas are an important addition to this new standard. Schemas are basically trading, basically route types. As I mentioned, we went through the swap schema already. Any connector that defines the swap schema and has the quote swap and the execute swap routes and defines these request and response schemas, they'll work with strategies that use the swap schema. Similarly, if you want to kind of incorporate the AMM schema, there's another set of routes. So for example, if we look at, let's say, connectors Uniswap, AMM, there are kind of like add liquidity, remove liquidity, pool info, position info, and then note that AMM routes, this AMM connector also has execute swap and quote swap, and so that's why this AMM connector, this connector is basically incorporates both the AMM schema as well as the swap schema. If we look at the I can never say this word, CLMM, clam routes. Clam routes are similar to the AMM routes. They're routes for adding liquidity and removing liquidity. One of the main differences, however, actually we should look at the schema files. That's probably a better way to look. So the main difference between the clam schema and the AMM schema are that there are different parameters required and exposed, because the main difference between clam and AMMs is that you can set a position range. You can create a range in a pool instead of just adding liquidity, kind of like on both sides in equal amounts. Therefore, there are more parameters to consider. That's why there are, when you get a position info, you're getting kind of the upper price and the lower price of that range, as well as the upper price and the upper bin and the lower bin IDs. So I think with these three schemas, in my opinion, this supports 95%, if not 99%, of the DEXs out there. Because if you're a vanilla kind of a swap DEX or a DEX aggregator, so this might be Jupiter, 1inch, Matcha, Paraswap, any basically router-based solution, it can use the swap schema. And we actually might introduce a router schema that's kind of like sits on top of the swap schema and has other router-based functions. But for now, I think we'll keep it simple and just have all the aggregators as well as the vanilla DEXs incorporate into the swap schema. And if you're an AMM DEX that offers the ability for people to add and remove liquidity into pools, then you're going to use the AMM schema for those liquidity provision endpoints. But you can also, have the quote swap and execute swap so that people can swap directly with the pool instead of with a router. And then finally, for the clam schemas, it's similar to the AMM schemas, but there'll be kind of like specific request and response parameters that provide the price and range info that clam pools need. So for an exchange like Uniswap, that's why we're going to have for Uniswap three types of connectors. One, this routes folder are for the router swap routes. This AMM routes folder is for V2 pool routes, and the clam routes are the V3 pool routes. I think one common question we get is, are you going to support Uniswap V4? So with V4, yeah, I think we will support V4. It depends on how V4 actually works, whether they allow people to add and remove liquidity to it versus if it's just a swap router. If it's just a swap router, I actually think it should probably replace the existing this one, which uses the V3 swap router. If it adds other capabilities, then it's probably a new type of connector that fits one of these types here. One
one question from Bruno: do you have a code connector with CalSwap? No, we do not. But that is one that I think can be added easily now. That should fit the swap schema. And I think, yeah, I would say it should be very, very similar to this one here. So, okay, let's move on and finish the slides, and we can go into some live coding. So overall, I think it's also going to be a much better developer experience in the new gateway, mainly because in the past, we could only run it in kind of encrypted mode, which is designed to be used with Hummingbot. It was hard for developers to access it. Right now, you can just run it with a dev flag, and that'll expose endpoints in unencrypted mode, and you can just interact with endpoints, including adding and removing wallets, executing swap, and so forth, just directly from Swagger. So overall, as I'll show you, I think the testing experience should be a lot better along with this. We're also going to have more kind of like unified testing. So the way that this tests process is something that I'll probably work on over the next week, but we are going to have tests for every chain, and so and our QA team will be using these tests in their process as well. So the overall idea is that, for example, there's certain chain tests that are run for, let's say, for Ethereum, and then so for example, this balance, this balance test, we have a set of mocks that we will test against. So, for example, Ethereum, if you kind of test this balance route, this JSON file is the response that you should get, and this is the actual kind of like base, base endpoint. And overall, what we're going to try to validate is that, this schema is tested against these routes. So overall, I think our QA team can basically just kind of like, we'll have a process where they can just run scripts that test the connectors versus these kind of mocked, JSON responses, and we can update these responses if something changes. But overall, by fixing both SDK, fixing the responses, we can ensure that hopefully any changes made, we can isolate them more easily, whether it's due to a bug in the code or the need to update the SDKs and the mock responses. But overall, I think because these DEXs are constantly changing and updating their SDKs, like right now, if you look at the Uniswap docs, they have V2, V3, V4. They have the smart order router. They have the universal router, and there's like 5 different SDKs that all interact with each other. And so it's like keeping it updated for all the changes that these guys are making is a full-time job. And I think so that's why I think overall what we're trying to do here with the new version is define a simple schemas, make sure they work with the top DEXs in the market, which I think right now are Uniswap on the Ethereum side and probably Raydium on the Solana side, and then allow the community to maintain and keep updated all of the other DEXs and chains out there. All right, so let's move on a bit. Let's finish explaining this, and we'll kind of show it, see it in action, see all the endpoints in action, and kind of go from there. So some of the benefits. We're going to introduce a CLI interface. So I have some plans to I actually think instead of having CLI, I actually think I was doing some research. I think we should actually do is run an MCP server at the same time that gateway starts, and then expose the MCP server into Claude, and then we can show how basically how to just in Claude how to like fetch balances and how to like see your portfolio and get a price and do other things like that. Overall, I think I do think the gateway, it makes sense to have it on a standalone mode, because it can be used with Hummingbot if you want to automate some type of strategy. But as someone that I do a lot of stuff on the DeFi, there's a lot of like one-off actions that I'm constantly looking to do. For example, I want to see my portfolio across. I want to see the value of my portfolio across both Solana and Ethereum, across the 20 wallets I have, across those two chains, and my positions on all the DEXs. So right now I have to keep a spreadsheet updated, and it's a pain in the ass to do it. But I think it'd be easier to automate that. Very easy to automate that with Hummingbot, with Gateway. And I think having like standardized kind of like a portfolio, tool or balances tool, I think would help that. Would basically help AI, LLM make that calculation very easily. So yeah. Actually, we probably don't need a portfolio. That's getting the value of a portfolio is something you would ask an LLM. But if there's a get positions endpoint, if there's a get price for every token endpoint, in the LM can basically calculate your portfolio, give you the breakdown, and do all that kind of stuff for you very easily. So that's kind of what I envision the tool set for Gateway to be. That's why I think an MCP server is going to be more useful than a CLI, because an LM can do more with the tooling instead of you trying to stitch together individual commands to get to where you want. You can just tell an LM to do it. Okay, so moving on though, that's a bit of a tangent. That's probably like live stream 3 or 4 in the series. Today we're just going to cover the overall structure, use a few endpoints to show you how it works, go through the installation process. Next week we'll cover how to use Hummingbot to automate a basic strategy that's doing some type of automated process on a DEX. I think the one that GB wants, which is a simple grid executor in Solana that uses market orders instead of classic limit orders, is a really good one. We should be able to get that done, fingers crossed, next week. And then hopefully, actually, I think a good goal for probably session 3 is to build a simple MCP server that allows like Claude to fetch the value of a portfolio, for using the tool set, using Gateway. All right, great. So let's go from there. So today, let's finish going through the high level architectural changes we made to Gateway and understand how to interact with the Swagger UI. All right, so yeah, this is actually a good slide, I think. Is there any? Okay. Yeah. So these slides need to work, but basically, so yeah, we're gonna try to migrate all the existing connectors over. And so right now, we're kind of in between 2 and 6, so we've completed by 2.6 we'll completed the migrations for Uniswap, Jupiter, Raydium, and Meteora. We'll also have instructions for other ones, and then at that point we'll have create bounties. I think the first ones we would want to review are probably our PancakeSwap, if there's a connector for that, and probably other ones like Orca that are basically heavily. So I think overall, I think we should review the new ones in priority of how much usage they're getting from the community. And then overall, I think if there's as long as a connector is in the Gateway code base, if it's basically one of the exchanges in Gateway that's authorized in our governance polls, we will merge in a pull request that accommodates this new standard after 2.6 is out. In the future ones, there's a governance process we have on Hummingbot that people use to propose new connectors in. And so basically any exchange that meets new standard and passes governance, we would also merge in. All right, so yeah, there's not much else here. This slide deck was actually a bit of a disappointment. You can actually just get it easier just by interacting with it and using it. So let's go through now, and let's go through how to install and use this new process. So yeah, installation instructions you can follow by looking here, by installation and setup. But let's go to our command line here. I've already have it set up here like this. But if you just want to basically follow what I did from scratch, you just need to go and clone the 2.6 branch, which I'll put into GitHub here. Okay, so yeah, I'm working in this pull request. You can see it actually right here, Gateway 2.6 updates, which is tracking this Gateway 2.6 branch. So if you basically take this 2.6 branch, I'll put in the chat. See it? So you can basically just clone the branch, clone by just going like git clone like that. I've already cloned it, so I'm not going to clone it again. But after you clone it, you can just go into the repo, which I'm in right now, and then type pmmp install. Make this a little bigger. So this will install the dependencies using the pnpm package manager. If you don't already have pnpm, you can install it with npm install -d pnpm like this, and then this should also update my pnpm. Great. So pnpm is really the same thing as npm, and it's just does a better job of managing your dependencies and consolidating instead of like getting redundant node modules or trying to figure out which ones you actually really need and install one of those. Okay. So after you have installed the dependencies, you should run the build command. So pnpm run build. This will install. This will basically compile the TypeScript into JavaScript. And then finally, now you can run it. You basically want to run it with a passphrase. The passphrase is what you'll be using to encrypt and decrypt your wallets. So usually you'll have added. You probably add when you add a wallet, you'll use the passphrase, and when you decrypt the wallet, you'll use the passphrase. So basically, you just want to make sure that you use the same passphrase all the time. And also, if you install this with Hummingbot, you should make sure that it's the same passphrase you used to generate the certs in Hummingbot. So yeah, before you run it, you should run the gateway setup command. This setup command does two things. The first thing it does is it will copy over the client certificates. This is basically when you run the generate source command in Hummingbot. This is what I generated. I'll show you. This is the generate. That's where you basically can generate the certs. If you follow along, if you basically read this page here, this will show you how to do it. But if you basically generate the certs in Hummingbot, you will kind of like use a passphrase to generate them, and it will store them in a certain directory. So you just need to copy them over and put this directory into this part here. I'm not going to do that because I've already done that, but actually, I can do that. I'll just do that. Yes, I'll just do this. And just remember to put in the absolute path, which is Hummingbot certs. So for me, it's the same one I did earlier. So this will copy the certs over. And the other thing is it's going to copy the configs from the templates directory into the conf directory. So the reason we do this is because the user can change the configurations for different chains and for different DEXs. So that way, you can kind of like keep the templates separate from your actual configs. So, so your actual configs are here. So here I can edit and update these. And one thing I definitely want to update is I definitely want to update the node URL that I am using for Solana. The reason is because Solana, it's quite a heavy blockchain, so running a node is kind of expensive, and so right now, like the public nodes are all quite slow. However, if I want to run bot, I'm probably going to need a heavier duty connection to the blockchain, and so I'm going to put in the address I use for my quick node account, which is I think it costs us like we're on like the $35 plan. which is for our whole team. So it's not that expensive, but I highly recommend getting QuickNode or ChainStack or another node provider if you're using that. I can also change the default addresses for certain pools I'm working with. I'll keep these because these are, I think, the largest, most liquid pools for certain combinations in both AMM and CLMM. But if you want to add different pools, like let's say Melania, for example, you can also do that here. Okay, so now that we have the configs, we've done the script generation. Now we can run it. So run it. We can run it with either with a dev flag, which will expose the interactive Swagger docs at this 1588 docs endpoint, or we can run it without the dev flag, and this will expose the endpoints in rest mode and allow for connection with Hummingbot. Note that both modes require passphrase for wallet endpoints, you can also use, if you don't use passphrase, you can actually use the read-only endpoints in dev mode. So here's how we run the dev mode. So let's run it in dev mode. Okay, except we should probably add our passphrase. All right, so now we can go to 1588 like this, and then we can interact with. So first, let's take a look at at what connectors are. This config endpoint is you can put a chain or connector here to get the endpoint to get the configs for the connector. So this here is the same thing that is exposed in this Solana.yaml file. We can also update this if we want. So for example, let's say we want to change it so that when we send a transaction, the minimum fee that we're paying is higher because maybe this fee is too low. We're happy to pay. We think the chain, actually one example is the chain is more congested now, so we want to start paying transactions with a higher minimum fee. So let's use 0.001 Solana, which right now is something like 17 cents. So let's update this configuration so that instead of having 0.0001 minimum fee, we use 0.001. That should actually make today's demo easier, because we should be waiting a small amount of time to get transactions confirmed on chain. So to do that, we can use the config update route. So the one we're going to update is Solana, and we're going to update the minimum priority fee. Now we could actually do this just by changing this file, right? Like we could just do this, right? So why would we not just change the file? Actually, changing the file is a lot easier. So I would say if you're using Hummingbot in standalone mode, changing configs like this is much easier. However, the reason we're doing this via kind of this endpoint is because you might be using Hummingbot, and you can use Hummingbot to update these configs as well by using the gateway config command, which allows you to update these configs. So what I'm really doing is I'm testing the endpoint to make sure that we can actually make the updates what we need to do. So I'm gonna put this back. Okay, yeah. So what we want to do is we want to see this number and change it to 0.001. So let's run this endpoint and see what happens. Great. So we see the config has been updated, and we see that the min priority fee is now indeed 0.001. Now, however, note that we actually do need to update gateway here. Let's see. I actually don't think we restarted the Solana connector. We actually do need to restart the connector. This is actually why when you do this in Hummingbot, it will make this update and will automatically reinitiate the connection to gateway. But because here we're kind of doing it manually, it's not going to do that. But in order for this to take effect, we actually do need to stop and start gateway like this. Okay. So one thing to note is like this is not very helpful. Right now, like the config have been updated, but it's like what has been updated, you know. Let's make this message a little better at the same time. And so let me copy this and then ask CloudCode over here to do that. So actually, let me show you what I'm doing. I'm using CloudCode right now because to help me make changes. I think it's a lot easier to do that than doing it manually. So let's change improve. Make this bigger too. Improve the success message to be more descriptive for config update. Currently, yes. Okay. So let's see what CloudCode can do to update the success message, and so we have a better experience for doing this. Okay. So yeah, it's saying this. So, this sounds like a good thing, and so yeah, let's do yes, and I'll make the update. So overall, by the way, I actually started using CloudCode a lot recently. I think it's better than the other AI coding solutions. Seems more reliable in doing agentic tasks. It can handle complex ones more easily. This was a simple one, but yeah, we'll try to give it more complex tasks in this session and next session. Okay, so now let's put it back to the old value, and then we can kind of do that again. Yeah, we can test that again. Let me build the server, build the app, run it, and then we can test to see and verify that our new thing worked. Okay, so yeah, let's go and let's make it even a little bit bigger. I actually do think the chain is going to be quite congested today. So actually never mind. Let's make it a bit smaller. I think right now this is 17 cents. Let's make it a bit smaller and make it like 8 cents or 9 cents per minimum fee. So to do that, we'll go into config, update, and then we'll change the min priority fee to 0.0005. Try that. Great. And now it says configuration updated successfully. Solana min priority fee is set to new value. Great. So now we actually know what the new value is. But I feel like this new value should actually be in the message. So yeah, that was kind of dumb that it's not in the message. I should get rid of this. Yeah, let's ask Solana code to add that message. Add the new value to message. Great. Okay. So let's go and do that. Let's try that again. Let's test that and make sure it works. Get rid of this CloudCode thing. Okay. Okay, so let's do this one more time, and let's go back to the 0.001. Great. So now it says Solana min priority fee is set to 0.001, and we see it here. So that works. That was a very simple AI-based trading, AI-based coding thing. So let's see what else we can do. We can also see the list of pools. This is important because this will tell us which ones we need to add. I'll show you. This is looks like this pools endpoint need to be updated. Oh yeah. I think I need to fix this pools endpoint. Let's add let's make sure that it can fix. So yeah, this is a good one for Claude to fix. So fix the config pools endpoint for recent changes to Raydium schemas. I think now it's like I think there was a pools thing I had before, so now it's more like this. Now it's like this. Then add the examples for Uniswap, CLMM, and Meteora. To the Swagger examples. Let's see for get pools. Get pools. Ensure that the get pools add pools. What's the other one? Yeah. Move pools works with all three, all AMM and CLMM connectors. Okay. All right. So what I just do is I gave Claude a bunch of instructions that helps me fix these endpoints here. So these endpoints are designed to help the user see and modify these default pools. I think these default pools are important because once you set these, then you can just just define the trading pair. You don't need to worry about looking up the right addresses. So I think that having a schema for easily inspecting, adding, removing, and updating, and adding and removing these pools is a good thing to do. So that's why I added these in. And so yeah, I think I added some. I think before there was a pools dict here. Now I've just removed it, so that's why there's probably some changes here that need to be made. This is actually why I think CloudCode is good, because I trust it to do its thing, and it should do the right thing. Hopefully I don't need to spend too much time fixing it, but we'll see. Actually, this looks kind of wrong here. What is this? Yeah, actually, I'm gonna fix this. Actually, whoops. Yeah, this is actually wrong. Yeah, this is there. Actually, this is probably a better example. I think this is what it doesn't need to do. Oh, and Memento. Yes. Memento says the only thing to watch out for is API cost. That's a very good point. That's actually why I didn't start using CloudCode until last Friday, which is when I realized that they have this new Claude Max plan, which it's basically $100 a month. You can get yeah, like you can use that plan with CloudCode. I think it's like 5x pro usage or something like that. But I've been using it nonstop, basically for the past few days, basically for the past week almost, and I haven't hit a wall yet in terms of like API costs. So I think I'm still, it's basically $100. It's gonna be $100 a month. I think based on my usage, but I think it's really a deal actually. So that's why I highly recommend CloudCode with this new max plan they have. Well, yeah, the thing I really like is like, I like how it's like, I can kind of let it run like this, get some breakfast, go back, and then I always do like a, let's see, like a build and add tests like this. So yeah, I can like kind of like build, make it add tests, and then it'll kind of like it might find some issues and self heal. So, and overall, it just feels like I can like multitask a lot easier. You know, I can do some research. You know, I get some more coffee. I'll let it do its thing, and then yeah, and then come out afterwards and check that it actually did it. Usually, I'll check it manually afterwards if it's actually doing it correctly. All right. Speaking of, I'm gonna get some coffee. I'll be right back. All right, back. By the way, I see the comments. Yeah, thank you, Stanislav. Stanislav was one of the participants in our most recent Botcamp cohort, and yeah, you should check out his strategy, which is it's in our demo day video. He used a new gateway connector to automate an LP management strategy, and I think yeah, there's a lot that you can do with these kind of LP endpoints now that they're available. Looks like it's still adding tests for these endpoints here. So yeah, this should be pretty simple. This is a perfect example of good AI tasks because these endpoints are very simple, kind of CRUD endpoints. We should have a test for them, and so it's a good thing to add into the code base. Oops, not cursor. We don't need cursor anymore. So I used to use cursor. Now I actually try to use basically just CloudCode, and then I use VSC alongside of it like this to edit the files manually and to see what it's doing. So it looks like it's added this config pools test. Nice. Okay. And then config routes test. Add mocks. It did not add mocks. Okay. And remove duplicate. Okay, I found some duplicate mocks. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it should. Yeah. I'm gonna add the add. Actually, yeah, maybe that's better. It's actually probably better if its pools are here. The mocks are here and rather than over there. So okay. All right. That's pretty good. Yeah, mementos is. I actually, I know what you mean. Like, it actually doesn't change it that fast, which is actually interesting because that's actually why I right now, like, that's why I don't know if before it was doing something that I didn't like, so I thought I hit escape, and I gave it kind of instructions that overrode what it was doing. So it uses tokens slow enough that you can actually kind of like interrupt it and yeah, prevent it from going off into a tangent fairly easily if you kind of know what you're looking for. Okay, all right, so yeah, let's do this. Let's push commit our changes. Let's see, commit and push all changes with good descriptions. So GB, correct me if wrong, the LP endpoint can actually be used to concentrate liquidity into a range and use that as a substitute for a limit order on a DEX. Yes, that is true. However, I think I would say before you do that, you should just do it manually. You know, it's like I would say it's kind of like, yeah, don't try to automate something, for instance, in Raydium, CLMM, or Uniswap until you have some experience managing your these ranges manually. You know, because all we're doing here is we're automating the interactions with either concentrated pools or standard pools in Raydium. So you know you can define these parameters like the range max price and min price in here, for example, right? But you know you don't want to be messing around here until you have an experience setting these manually. So my first tip I would say is if you're interested in using these LP ranges, don't use Hummingbot. Just go to Raydium, take $5 and just experiments with like $5, $10 worth of money for a few days. And because once you get a feel for what you're doing, what the risks are, what the sources of yield, all that kind of stuff, and also the differences between the concentrated and the standard pools, you probably don't want to automate those behaviors. Okay, actually, let me move my screen because I think we'll be using this part of the screen more. So let me move my screen. Should move it down. Actually, never mind. I usually keep my code here, so actually probably better if I keep my screen up top. So let's actually go into now more of the other endpoints that are available. So we also have wallet endpoints. These wallet endpoints are designed to help you add and remove different wallets. So I've currently added my demo wallet for both Ethereum and for Solana. Now, the Ethereum, one big change we made from the older version of Gateway to new one is that before we had different chain folders for Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Polygon, and other L1 EVM chains. Now we treat all of those as Ethereum networks. That allows us to use the same Ethereum chain folder to interact with all of these different chains. The reason it's possible is because all of those chains are EVM compatible. We know they're EVM compatible because in Rabby, for example, I don't know if you can see my Rabby wallet, but actually I probably shouldn't show my Rabby wallet. But in Rabby or MetaMask, I can connect to all of those EVM compatible chains. Therefore, those are all defined now as networks in Ethereum, like Mainnet, Arbitrum, Base, BSC, Avalanche, Celo, Polygon, Blast, Zora, and WorldChain. So what that means is if you want to use Uniswap on any of these networks, it's now supported because you're just using Ethereum connector, and so we can support any DEX that has this deploy their contracts on these respective networks. We should support actually any network. So I think if people want to add other networks, we should actually, I would say this should be just as simple as adding default files into this gateway Ethereum templates file, which is here. So there actually probably are many other networks that we can support that people want to support now. It could be like Mega ETH or all these EVM compatible networks. But basically anything you can connect to with a MetaMask wallet, we can add here as well. So now we know that the chain ones, we can add the wallets and remove the wallets. So to do that, you simply define the chain, the network. Actually, we're actually going to remove this network parameter. Let's do that right now because we actually don't need that anymore. And let's do that. And because I think wallet remove, I don't think we have that, right? Yes. Wallet remove, we can just add the chain address. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So let's add, let's remove that network param, which is no longer needed. As a tangent, I'm trying to minimize any changes I make to the kind of the API surface right now, and mainly because I want to make sure that this still works with the Hummingbot client. So right now, I have added like a chains, prefix to the chain endpoints, and as well as the connectors prefix to the connectors endpoints. So right now, in the current version of Hummingbot, it's not going to work with this version, but in the I'll work on a version of Hummingbot for 2.6 that will use this new route structure, but by the time the 2.6 one comes around, we should have kind of matching client and gateway releases. But over that time, like as I'm doing now, I'm trying to make sure that we modernize and standardize the routes so that in the future, people can chain together these interactions to form more sophisticated strategies. For example, you may want to add, a whole bunch of wallets for Solana, a whole bunch of wallets for Ethereum, and then query balances across all of the various networks you have for them. And so that's probably like 4 or 5 different kind of like, function calls. But I think if we, kind of appropriately document and expose those routes, we can make them available to lots of different strategies. The wallet controller test. Do I need to update these wallet controller tests? Yeah, so let's update this test as well. This thing's awful. This presentation. Yeah, this needs more work. Let me tell Claude how bad it was while we're doing this. Where's my Claude? Okay, I gave Claude some shit for putting together this crappy like 6th grade interpretation of actually not sorry. This is like one of this one's interns that you hire, who like went to like Stanford or Harvard and but thinks they can just coast, on their brain and throws out bullshit work like this. so yeah, that's probably indicative of the people who trained these AIs, at these companies. All right, so let's do some dual padding as Claude AI is trying to improve the slide deck that explains our changes. Let's continue testing and fixing our wallet routes. Looks like I'm overloading my system. Claude desktop gave up. I it didn't like what I was. It didn't like all the shit I was giving it, so it died on me. What the fuck is this, dude? Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Let's Claude. That's why CloudCode seemed to be a bit better. Yep. Claude desktop died. Yep. All right, and removed all the stuff I did before. So that's fine. That slide deck was completely useless anyway. So we're gonna just ignore CloudCode here. So all right, let's finish off today's session by actually testing these endpoints we've used and created. So just as an example, we have Ethereum. With Solana networks, we can fetch a status from. We can fetch balances for one of our wallets. So by default, this will automatically populate the first wallet that I have in here. So I'm not sure why I have this random token address here. Why did I have that? Oof. Oh, what is going on here? Oh, I know. This is giving me. This is my Ethereum address. Why is my Ethereum address here? That's weird. It looks like it. Oh, I see. I know. I think it changed. Did it update my? Oh no! Did it? Yeah. Fix these Solana balances. Example. To use Solana first wallet address and correct Solana token. Yeah. This is definitely around. This should be my Solana wallet. And yeah, I don't know why this was. Yeah. This is definitely around here. Come on now. Sometimes AI, they make some dumb changes. Yeah, dude, fuck. Maybe I should change this manually. Fuck. Yeah. Okay. Oh, found it. Okay. It's like, yeah. It's always like this. Try just do it manually or wait for AI to delete this thing here. Come on. No. That's wrong. No. Fuck. Yep. Fuck this shit. God damn it. No, like this. Like this, dummy. Okay. All right, and then I also have the wallet address. First wallet address. Let's see this. This should work. I don't know why he's doing some stupid shit here. Hey. Yes, that's it. That's the only change you needed to make, Claude. Fuck. Oh. All right, now yeah, this is just making changes along the way. Yeah, if this was like a proper demo, I would actually just demo all the routes. But you know, this is a live stream, so this is actually examples of yeah. This is you know what I actually do all day long, just you know fixing these routes, trying to make sure they work. But I think this will pay off in the long run. You know, it's once we have standardized these routes, we have these you know, God, fuck you, stop doing this bullshit. Hey, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah. Once we do this, then it'll work. So yeah, it's probably it's more because I give it this, so it thinks it can like throw in random examples. It's like, dude, come on. Yes. And actually, I should tell it not to push automatically, but it is what it is. So yeah, these are things we you know did so because we actually wanted to see if this actually worked. Dude, yeah, don't be so forward. Jeez, dude, man, so aggressive. Okay, all right, let's see. Did it actually do our thing correctly or not? So I think what we asked it to do was I think it should have fixed these pools endpoints. So now, yep, it did fix the pool endpoints. So we can get the pools for each of these. We can probably add pools and yeah, remove pools as well. Remove pools for different base and quote tokens. Fetch a list of connectors, and then also get the chains. All right, so we covered all the routes in this top section. Let's go into these Solana routes. Let's see, did it fix our issues? No, it is getting the wrong address, and it is getting the Solana. It is getting the Ethereum address, not the Solana address. So it should be getting this one, like this. And so those are the balances. So, okay, Solana looks like problem is this. Okay, so that is the issue. Let's actually look at this. What is this thing? Get wallet pass Solana. Yeah, hey, wallet pass Solana. Wallet pass Solana. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. That's kind of that should be this should be correct. Now, run build. Start. Okay, let's check now. Let's see if it gave us the right address. No, it still does not. Jesus, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's odd. Okay. Why is this not working? All right. Jesus Christ. Might be a actually this might be a caching issue actually. Because it actually does have the right code. Yeah, I think this actually was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. This is, I actually, this code actually looks correct. So I don't know why it's doing this thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let it do this thing some more. It's kind of sometimes it's good just to have AI like just, you know. This is actually very simple. This is, yeah, like this is. Wow, this is actually a pretty overkill here. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna test that first. This is, yeah. I'm gonna test this again. I think it actually might be just a caching issue. Yep. Yeah, this makes sense. Because mainly people are adding other, like Ethereum and Solana addresses. In theory, it's possible for Solana addresses to start with 0x actually. So, but fine, it's fine. If a user has a Solana address that somehow starts with 0x, I highly recommend getting a new one. All right, fine. Let's test it. That's it. YOLO. Jesus Christ. All right. Yeah, this is still, something is still going on here. What is going on here, I guess? See. Jesus Christ. I don't think this is... Yeah, there must be in the code somewhere. I really don't see it. I think this is... let me try this. This is ridiculous here. Alright, this is... Solana balances. Okay, it's getting the first Solana wallet. Because this actually also affects here as well, right? Let's see. If I execute swap. No, actually, this is right. Wait a second. No, this is correct here. So the Raydium is getting the right wallet address. Let's look at the Raydium. Get execute swap. Raydium. So this one is getting the right wallet address, which is so this one is correct. Okay. And then right here. So this gets the correct Solana wallet address, right? And over here, this one is not. Okay. Maybe, let's see, Solana. Okay, first of all, I don't know why this is like this. Okay, let well known. No, we don't need a well known example. Okay, try first wallet address equals. Okay. Yeah, we should not need this stuff here. Just catch there. Just catch there, and log it, and warn. Okay. That's all we need. Then we just need to do, because we don't need this, and we just need to have this here like this. Network. Like that. Okay. Alright. So now this should work. And if it doesn't, it means there's something else going on. So sometimes AI not as good as you think, but actually I don't know why that didn't work though. That's actually kind of weird that this would actually do it this way. But let's try again. Let's see. Yeah. Oh jeez. Oh, that's why. I see. There is this address field here, which is old. And we're actually updating wallet address for some reason here. So, yeah, I see. The reason is because address is the required one, I think, like that, and we should, I don't know why address was, oh, I know, and the reason is getting that is because that's probably in the chain schema. Chain schema address here. Where did this come from though? So this must be in the examples somewhere. No, interesting. It was not. Okay, so yeah, so balance needs address. Is that right? Address? That's right. Okay. All right. So now I think we actually found the issue, I believe. So, okay. There we go. So yeah, it was a address versus wallet address issue. Unfortunately, these are the kind of things that AI does not do well. But I'm glad we fixed it. So it was. So now we should, yeah, basically we have the right. You can put this will put your automatically. You can put your first wallet address here. You can put tokens here. One change from Gateway 2.2 is that you can also put in random tokens here. So for example, let's say you have some token here. You're really interested in understanding, in trading. Even if you have not added it to the token list, you can do that. So it's like, do I have any Kudo tokens? Let's see. Do I have any Kudo tokens? I do not have any Kudo tokens, but I can add random tokens that people have added here, like this, I think. Here is, let's see, let's try this. Here is some, here's a token that we created for fun last time. Let's see. How do I do this? I copy this. Copied. Okay. Now if I do this, I don't. Oh, okay. Actually, yeah. Maybe. Never mind. I think this one. Actually, I think we need to do this. I think we can probably do this. Allow Solana houses to accept address or token in tokens or symbols in tokens. In tokens if not found in token list, fetch balance for it. Anyway, can do it. Let's see if that works. So basically, one change I want to make is that all of these routes for anything where it's just taking a token should take either a symbol or an address. If it's an address or if it's a symbol, it'll look it up in the list. If it's an address, it'll just use that in the routes directly. So what that should allow you to do is, for instance, getting getting info on various pools or other places where even if you have to find a list, you can still do it. Let's see if that works. Looks like it's adding some stuff into the balances command for Solana. This is these are kind of things that I think this thing does well here. Actually, here's some examples. I don't think this is not good because these are in post. These do not display well in Swagger, but we can make that change very easily. So looks like it's still building. Almost 2 hours. We still haven't actually run any of these DEX routes, connector routes, but I think we'll probably do that next time. We'll run the routes and we will start looking at strategies to automate them. But I'll take it slow because I think that there's a lot to get into here in terms of just understanding how to use Gateway. So That's why if you're just starting out Gateway, I would just install it and just make sure you can just do the basics, like fetching your balances, like estimating the gas prices, pulling for status of transaction, because the one thing is, like, if you're new to trading on DEXs, it's like a whole different level from trading on SEXs, because there's a lot of issues that you need to find, like, can I even get a transaction landed? So if you use the wallets, they handle a lot of that for you. But even if you use, like, let's say Phantom or MetaMask, you'll notice that sometimes the transactions will fail. For some reason you have to retry, and so that's why, and because there's a lot under the hood with the shifting gas prices, shifting network latencies at the node level, new tokens being introduced all the time. Those new tokens might not have different levels of liquidity, might trade in different pools. So you kind of have to, like, just, I would say my big recommendation is just understand all of that and be comfortable manually trading it before you could try to go and automate it. I do think there's a lot of possibility with automation. Actually, you can use, like, the DEX price on SEX trading, use a SEX price in DEX trading, all kinds of stuff. But you don't want to automate until you have a lot of experience just creating manual positions, doing manual swaps, and then understanding how you can kind of, like, take advantage of these different strategies. Okay. Looks like it also wrote a test to ensure that it can handle these balances correctly. So yeah, that's why one of the reasons we did this is because I want to try to make sure that I set a standard for other devs who are adding other routes into Gateway, so that, yeah, if we're modifying routes like this to make them more flexible, or these kind of things, yeah, they should change and handle these different endpoints as well. Okay, so let's go and test the change manually as well. It's always a good thing to do. So balances. Yep. So yeah, and let's try putting in our random token that we have here. Yep, and indeed, we do actually have this here. I don't know why it showed like this. This is bad. Trunk key symbol. Trunk. I want to find that artifact again in this thing here. This. I'm glad that Claude was so embarrassed by when it produced that, when I gave it shit for doing such crappy work, it crashed and deleted the session instead of owning up to it. But I still have the artifact, Claude. I still have this incredibly substandard explanation of of the of the gateway 2.5 versus 2.2 repos. We're gonna store this for this will be saved for posterity, for everyone to see. But overall, I'm joking. I'm actually a huge fan of Claude, especially CloudCode, because the fact that I can kind of like just do a live stream, give it not simple but fairly fairly I would say cumbersome tasks to do. While it does that, I think it's excellent. And I think I like the fact that it has a lot of like access to tools. Like I can say just commit and push. And I can just do a lot of the basics that allow me to take my mind off other things. So this to me is what AI is good at. It's like it's good at doing like kind of like just like tasks that otherwise would just occupy your brain. But it's like, you can do them, you know how to do them, but you don't want to do them. I think is a good example of what but if you don't know how to do something, usually it's a better idea to kind of like take it slow and and not let Claude go overboard, because as we saw, like sometimes it can start adding stupid shit, like trying to handle backwards compatibility and just add a lot of like cruft into your code. Okay, so now what we've done is we have during today's session we have looked at the initial version of the new gateway. This is now 2.6. We've looked at this slide deck that summarizes the key changes, and we've kind of gone and just basically just make sure that we understand how these balances work. So next time we're actually going to go and interact with the DEX balances. So I'll show how to use the Raydium connector in more detail, and how to set up strategies in Hummingbot where you can automate actions on these DEXs. But today, I think it's good time to stop today's session. If you want to please check out the new 2.6 branch in Gateway. And I would just say, just familiarize yourself with the various endpoints in terms of fetching balances for different wallets, and maybe just interacting with various kind of pools on different DEXs. And I think next time I'll talk about kind of like what are the top types of strategies you can employ using Hummingbot on these DEXs. Thanks a lot, everyone. Also, a shout out to definitely try out CloudCode. I started using it a lot more after they added support to their Max plan. Because before I was always worried about like API usage. I was like, because when you see this thing working, you're like, how much money is it costing me to like do all this thinking? But the Claude Max plan I think is $100 a month. So I highly recommend just using Claude Code with the Max plan. And I think it's actually going to make your engineering a lot more productive. Even if you're not an engineer, I think it's actually very, very good at front end. So if you're building any type of like website, like you can just basically describe what you're trying to do, and edit. Just edit it'll just do it for you. But and just as one final note, I think after just using Claude, the more that I use AIs, the more that I think I understand how to design systems that allow AIs to use them. Because we're kind of heading to our future where it's like everyone is just prompting. It's like I might be an engineer, I'm doing prompting. If I'm a designer, I'm doing prompting. If I'm like just like a knowledge worker, my job is to create like analyze reports, whatever, I'm also prompting. So what that means is if I'm building software or I'm building like an infrastructure system like Hummingbot or Gateway, the best thing I can do is to think about how AIs are interacting with external systems, and then try to design my system so that AIs can find it and interact with it more easily. This is actually not that easy, because even though AIs are very flexible, they're probabilistic, it's easy for them to get into rabbit holes as well. So that's why I think the MCP protocol is really good, because it defines how an AI can even interact with the protocol. Here's the tools, here are the resources, here are, here's other schemas you can use, it makes it a more structured interaction. And so that's why, I think one of the sessions in this live stream series, I am going to try to create like an MCP server that just all it does is just helps you get the balance and value of your portfolio. Because that's something that I'm always doing. Like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, how much money do I have? So I check my 5 wallets on Solana or whatever, or on Ethereum. So I actually would love to have a single place where I can just be like, how much money do I have across Solana and Ethereum? What's my breakdown across stable coins versus, non-stable coins, yada, yada. So I think that should be very easy to do with Gateway. And so that's why I think it'll be first like a single tool. Just if we can just build that and incorporate it into Claude desktop and just query for the portfolio and have it produce an answer. I think that'd be a really good goal for like session 4 or 5 of the series. Okay, all right, let's work toward it. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, next week Fede will be here. We're gonna do a special joint session. So definitely join the one next Friday. I think we're actually going to be working on a strategy that uses one of the DEX connectors. All right, everyone. See you next week.